I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, November the 17th, brought to you in part by Livestock Risk Services. That's Dakota Moss and all of his agents that you see listed here. He's based out of the Oklahoma National Stockyards Exchange building there in Oklahoma City. That's a good spot if you're in there selling cattle. Stop in there and visit with him. If you're not, give him a call. He can answer all your questions on livestock risk protection. He's the one to talk to about what your strike prices are, what your premiums are going to cost, how much the government's going to kick in to help pay for that premium, and what the best strategy is for protecting your investment on your backgrounding cattle, even your calves that are not even born yet. You can do it on cattle, feeding cattle, but it doesn't work quite as well. But if you're backgrounding cattle and you're not using LRP, you definitely need to look into that. Homeless cows, and we're just not finding enough place for cows anymore. And a lot of your producers that are in your small pasture states, like Missouri or Arkansas or Kentucky, maybe Tennessee, places like that where you can run a good many cattle, but you don't need that many big, huge pastures to do it in like you do out west. A lot of those guys have gone to backgrounding cattle or buying calves and growing them, making yearlings out of them, and you can't blame them. It's more seasonal, and your inputs are not quite as bad as they are in keeping cows around day in, day out, all throughout the year and many years. And a lot of guys have done that because it just doesn't pay to keep the cows when you're going through that long cycle of not making any money. And most people think that you got to get at least $1,000 back out of your calves to make it worth doing. And a lot of the time that's hard to do, especially if you don't have enough country to keep them until they're pretty good size, and you don't have enough flexibility to wean the calves and add some more value to them. But somebody's going to have to keep some cows, guys. We don't have a lot of cows. We are in a real tight cycle right now. We've had major drought in almost every major production area just in the last 3 to 5 years, and everybody's cold, about as deep as they can, and we just don't have a lot of cows out there. And there's been a lot of cow sales lately, not heavy receipts, but there's been a lot of bred cow sales, replacement type sales lately. And even though we're tight on our numbers because we've slaughtered so many of them, looked at your daily livestock report, and it said that year to date our beef cow slaughter is up 12.8% over last year, and last year was pretty darn high. That even though we don't have many cows available out there, your cows are not bringing a lot. In most cases, maybe not some premium type sales, but if you're just picking around, going to the cattle auctions, and you're not too particular, and you can buy some middle-aged bred cows, you just got to knock the packer off of them, and packer cows are cheaper right now. So if you're picking around, and like I said, may not all be the same color, but if you're pretty flexible on what you can handle as far as quality, you could buy some bred cows, mostly P2s, for cheaper than you could a big yearling feeder steer. And that seems like a no-brainer to me if you have a place to turn them out. If you guys have a place to turn them out, or you've got some hay stockpiled, or you're going to have some winter forage, you've got to look at these cows. In most cases, those cows won't cost you $1,200 a head. Look what a 9-weight feeder steer costs. It's going to be significantly more than that. And get some calves out of them. Those calves are going to be worth a pretty penny, guys. But we need to be looking at that. There's going to be more bred cow sales coming up closer to the end of the year, around the holidays. There's always a lot of bred cow sales between Christmas and New Year's, and you could go to those and you could find some really nice kept replacement bred heifers there that you could buy. They're likely going to cost a little bit more. If you guys really want to spend some money and get in it for the long term, you could find some first calf heifer pairs. They're going to cost something. But there'll be some of those bred cow specials. And the reason they have them late in the year is because guys don't want to pay taxes on that. They want to forego that, put it on the next year. But even the sales that they've had in the last couple of weeks, those cow-calf people can defer payment. They can get paid into the new year, put it on next year's taxes, as they know they're going to be needing equipment and things like that. But there'll be some more of them if you guys look around late in the year, around Christmas time, especially between Christmas and New Year's. If you want to get in there and get in the market for some bred cows, although there's not a lot of bred cows out there, your packers actually like to buy bred cows, and you think, well, why would they want that extra fill? Well, for most of your cow packers, they keep that calf serum, that blood out of those fetuses, and they can sell that to drug makers, and there's a lot of things that they do with that. They don't waste any of it. So, you know, they're not going to back off of them much, but it's not too hard to knock them out. Your best cows, your slaughter cows right now, are mostly bringing under $80, unless they're extremely high dressing cows. Most of your bulls are barely bringing $1, even on the best, biggest, heavy muscled, empty bulls that you find. But, you know, we've got to find a home for some of these cows, and I think you guys will be handsomely rewarded if you can go to the effort of getting some cows put together. If you've got some hay, even some old hay, you can grind that stuff up, you know, put a little bit of mixture with it and make something that they like to eat just to get them through the winter, guys. Hopefully next spring we'll have some good moisture and have plenty of grass to run those cows, but we sure need to be looking into that if you're not already. The world population this week is going to turn 8 billion. That's 3 times more than it was in 1950. We got a lot of mouths to feed, guys. They like beef. Not all of them can afford it, but you know, your beef is hanging right in there, even through inflation and hard times and bad economy. Beef hangs right in there, both domestic and export. We're going to have an excellent cattle market here for the next 3 years at least, maybe even 4, and then it's probably going to hang in there better than it did over the last dry run. But should have a bullish cattle on feed report coming out this Friday. We're looking forward to that. Let's talk about your board on Tuesday, or actually on Wednesday, excuse me. December live cattle futures up 52 cents at 150.180. February up $1.20 at 154.25. Your back months on live cattle up 17 cents to up $1. So that was nice to see a plus day. November feeder cattle up just 2 cents, and it's already starting to try to adjust itself to your CME cash feeder cattle index. It's sitting at 175.70, which is a little bit rich. How about January feeder cattle up 45 cents at 177.47. Your back months on feeder cattle were all up 37 cents to 70 cents. And your grains were, you know, corn was a little bit higher, but it wasn't up big like we were afraid it was going to be with those missile strikes that we thought was from Russia that landed on the Poland side of the border there between Ukraine and Poland. After further investigation, it looks like the missiles were likely from the Ukraine, trying to fend off some attacks from Russia, but and I think that they were wanting us to think that they were from Russia to try to drag us into this war, but luckily that didn't happen, and so that's going to kind of die down a little bit. Talk about your Chicago Board of Trade grain futures. Corn was up 1.5 cents is all at 665.25. Beans for January down 28 cents. That's a bunch at 1429.25. Your fat cattle trade started to establish itself on Wednesday, and not right away on Wednesday. It took a little bit of haggling, a little bit around, but surprise, surprise, it's going to be steady again for the most part. The guys that hang until late in the week and have better grading cattle are probably going to get more of the 154 and 155, but we've got guys in the Northern Plains selling from 152 to 153 and 240 to 242 dressed, which is exactly what we had last week. Southern Plains are already pulling the plug at 150. Iowa had 1,000 head confirmed on Wednesday from 152 to 153 and some dress trade at 242. Nebraska 1,800 head, all at 153, but some dress sales from 240 to 242. Kansas 2,200 sold. Texas 4,200 head sold, all at 150. Now, if you put them up for bids in a brick and mortar type sale barn, and I realize that not all of us can do that because we don't have good fat cattle sales down in the Southern Plains especially, but I talked to, or Joe Nelson sent me a message from Lanesboro, Minnesota, where he owns the market there, and they have a good fat cattle sale. Top sales he showed me on fat steers and heifers range from 160 and a half to 168. They can pay that for the cattle. They would pay that for the cattle, but you got to make them do it. Box beef cutout values were cheaper. On Wednesday afternoon, choice cuts 257.09 down $1.27. Your selects down 41 cents at 231.35. Slaughter running ahead of schedule again. They're very aggressive. They're wanting to run those chain speeds wide open. We keep selling them the fat cattle steady. They get all the rest of them based off that base price. Why wouldn't they keep doing it? 386,000 up through Wednesday of this week. 5,000 more than last week's big week. 20,000 more than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Mitchell, South Dakota. If you're a customer, have been a customer, might be a customer someday, or even thinking about it, at Mitchell Livestock Marketing, they're going to have a meet and greet on Friday night here. This Friday night. It's going to be at the Moose Lodge right there in Mitchell, running from 5 o'clock in the afternoon all the way to 11. But you're going to have music, you're going to have entertainment, they're going to have door prizes, going to have hors d'oeuvres. They're going to have refreshments there, but most of all, you want to meet Jared and Patrice Herman, the new owners of Mitchell Livestock Marketing. And if you want to have an intelligent conversation with Jared, you probably don't want to wait until 11 o'clock at night. You're probably thinking maybe 5 to 8 or 9. But anyway, Jared's a good friend of mine, has been for quite a while, and I wish them the very best. They bit off a hunk up there at Mitchell Livestock Marketing. It's a good facility, good place to market cattle, and they want to do it for you. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Real-time index on DV auction late in the day on Wednesday sitting at 173.85. That's up 95 cents from the end of trading on Tuesday. We had some real stick-out sales up in the Midwest and the Northern Plains. That pulled the market up a little bit. Coming up here on Friday, I'm going to be going out to Nevada, to Fallon, Nevada Livestock Marketing, where I help Jack Payne sell his feeder cattle specials. Got a big special coming up this Friday and likely over into Saturday, expecting at least 7,000 head. The market doesn't hold quite 4,500, so they're going to be jockeying cattle back and forth there, but had some real nice strings of cattle, some of them coming out of elevation. All of them have had snow on their backs. They're pretty well foolproof, guys, and be some really hard calves coming out of there, guys. And you can go on to dvauction.com. We're going to be set up there taking your bids for that sale. It starts at noon Pacific out there, and so that's a little bit later in the afternoon out here in the central part of the country. Get on to that dvauction.com, watch the sale. A lot of fun to watch. We're going to have some real premier consignments there, and that's Nevada Livestock Marketing on Friday, and then we'll sell till pretty late Friday and then pick up back up on Saturday and sell the balance of the cattle. Talk about your big sales on Wednesday. How about OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma? 9,400 head there. Feeder steers were steady to $1 lower. That's kind of been the way. Feeder heifers $2 to $4 lower. Now steer calves have been really popular this week. steady to $3 higher. The buyers are liking the cold weather, making those calves more foolproof. Spots as much as $8 higher on those heavy 5-weight steers, and the heifer calves unevenly steady. I love to give you those federal state market reports when they're done by seasoned and educated and trained market reporters like they are out of Oklahoma City and El Reno there, because I've got some faith in them. I've got faith in them in Missouri for the most part. Some of the older guys that I used to work with, but man, sometimes they just don't make any sense at all. But how about winter livestock in Dodge City, Kansas? About 3,000 head for them on Wednesday. Calves were steady to $4 lower. Pee-wee steers were $8 to $10 higher on the lightweights, the under 5-weight steer calves. Feeders were not well tested there. Had one interesting string of fancy lightweight steers there. 123 head, 471 pound lightweight steer calves there in Dodge City, Kansas, bring $234.35. That's a heck of a quote in the Southern Plains, guys. How about Bloomfield Livestock in Bloomfield, Iowa? Bloomfield Livestock Market had a lot of good feeder cattle at their sale on Wednesday. I pulled these bigger strings of feeder steers for you, and if you look, see how impressive they are, including 129 head, 730 pound steers, bring $195.75. They had to have had a yearling look to them. They had some 7-weight feeder steers there that didn't bring near that much. They would have been more of a calf type deal, and they make some big calves in that country. But how about 61 steers weigh to 839, Bloomfield, Iowa, bring $185. Really good market there at Bloomfield, Iowa, the Schooley family. Some individual quotes. How about Emporia Livestock Sales in Emporia, Kansas? 60 head of steers weighed 905 and $174.50. Your Zoetta stickout sale of the day was Bassett Livestock Auction in Bassett, Nebraska. Doesn't surprise you there. Market was kind of uneven, but you look at this automated market report, you see 748 head of 5-weight steer calves in Bassett, Nebraska. They average $549 with a weighted average price on all them 5-weight steer calves at $220.09. How about 1,095 head 6-weight steers, average $634 with a weighted average price of $210.01. I've got a couple of stick-out quotes that I want to give you from Bassett. There was a lot of stick-out quotes, but your Macrocin, no BS, top quotes for the day, both come out of Bassett Livestock Auction, Bassett, Nebraska. Had 75 steer calves weighed 503 at $248.50. And how about 79 steers weighed 736 at $2 smooth? That's your feeder flash for Thursday.